Welcome to the realm of magic and mystery, classic horror and sci-fi. You are now entering the House of the Unusual podcast with your hosts, Eddie and Joe. Welcome everyone to House of the Unusual podcast. I'm your host, Joe Pavlansky, writer for Scary Monsters magazine and curator of the Crypt of Classics. Co-hosting with me, as always, is the maestro of mail-order mysteries and owner of House of the Unusual, the one, the only, Eddie Guevara. Eddie, what's up, brother?
How you doing, Joe? How are you, buddy? Everything's cool. What's new in your neck of the woods?
Oh, just getting a lot of snow here in Ohio, and that's about it. We were talking about what we wanted to discuss on this program tonight, and I really wanted to talk with you about something that I watched the other day, and I want to see if you had ever seen it. I'm sure a lot of our audience members have seen it because it's a fairly popular series, but I'm a little bit behind the times. The series is called Black Mirror. It's on Netflix. Have you ever watched it?
No, I haven't, Joe. I thought you were going to say The Blacklist.
No, I know you like The Blacklist, but I've been hearing a lot about the Black Mirror, and I finally decided to cave in and watch it. It started in 2011. They're on, I think, series 5 now, but I watched this one episode, and it was really kind of freaky. It was in the season 2. It was called Be Right Back, and what the premise is, and if you've never seen the episode, for people out there, there's not really a spoiler to it or anything like that, but it talks about this guy and this girl who are kind of in love. It doesn't really say if they're married or not, but they've been together for quite some time, and the guy, he's like a social media addict, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, all that stuff. So he ends up dying. I believe it was in a car accident. They don't really kind of get into that. But what happens is the girlfriend, she's, grieving a lot, and one of her friends tells her, well, there's this way to kind of still interact with him while he's dead. So I'm like, well, this seems like an interesting premise. So what it is she gets a hold of this program, and it collects all his data from Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, all his personal emails and all that. And then she sends in a recording that she has of his voice and everything. And what it does, it compiles it together, and it allows her to talk with him on the phone. So I'm like, that's pretty interesting. And, it gets kind of, very kind of sci-fi and outlandish after that. But the main premise of, gathering people's information and putting it into where you could still talk with them. You're not really talking with them. It's, a computer program that's, artificial intelligence based, that's doing the talking and all that. And what I found was really interesting. Now, this episode came out in 2013. And what I really found interesting watching it is that, the last few weeks or months or so, is that there's actually technology being built that is exactly like this, where if you have a loved one that has died, they'll go on, like, you could send in all their information from all the social media sites, and you'll be able to talk with them.
That's interesting.
I thought it was really kind of creepy, and the show really goes back into like the ethical and moral, situation with the whole thing, and how it affects this woman, because it's not really her boyfriend, it's this computer program. But I thought it was really interesting that this came out 7 years ago, well, 11th of February, so 11 years ago, 8 years ago. I'm sorry, 8 years ago. But I thought it was really weird that now that exact technology is being built, today. So it's like we're living in this sci-fi universe. What do you think of that? What's your take on something like that? Do you think that's something that you would ever be interested in?
You know, it's interesting that you said that. I'll tell you why. Because I'm sure that whoever did that must have something to do with the show. I mean, maybe they saw the show or something, and that's why they started developing that technology today. Because it was back in 2013, what you're saying. But what you reminded me of is, you remember the episode? I think it was the Twilight Zone, where there's this old lady and she keeps getting a phone call, and when she kept getting the phone call, eventually at the end of the thing, it was the grave of her husband.
Yeah, I do kind of remember an episode like that.
Yeah, she used to get a phone call, and every time she picked it up, there was nobody in the other line, you know.
Yeah, and that's kind
And
of like how this was. She started off with text messaging, and then she received a call from the AI program, but it was his original phone number, his original picture that was on the phone number when he called, and it was, for all intents and purposes, him, but it was, his memories, his way of that he talked and everything in this artificial intelligence program.
yeah, because basically what the computer did, it kind of became and resembled him and became him. Now, if you're aware, do you remember that there was gosh, you got to bring me up on the name of the movie. There was a movie back in the 90s that was a computer that actually fell in love with the owner. Do you remember that
No, I
movie?
don't.
Gosh, what was it called? This, I think, was either the late 90s, early 90s, and it was a computer thing that the guy, the computer would say hi to the guy, and it was a female voice, but the computer wanted to take control of the guy.
Oh, was that Electric Dreams?
That's correct. That's the
Yeah.
movie. Remember that?
Yeah, that
That
came out around like 84, 85, I believe. Yeah, I do remember that now. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, that was the movie. You're right, and it was the premises of it was that the computer started falling in love with the person, and it was kind of like a freaky movie, but that, I guess, goes back to the 1950s and 60s, where people always wanted to be afraid of computers, and they always made it where it has a theme of fear, where the computer will overtake the human who created.
Yeah.
Now,
And now there's this whole kind of like other side of that where, people are turning to computers for companionship. You have all these sex robots out there. You have all these friendship companion robots. You have movies about people falling in love with, Siri on their cell phone. You have all this stuff. So on one end, there's people who are afraid, AI is going to take over the world. And there's another part that, are looking forward to interacting more with, these robots and artificial intelligence. And I know we've talked about it before, about, the fear and everything, with, AI taking over. But I thought it was interesting that there's this whole other, side of it where people are actually looking forward to, companionship with artificial intelligence, I guess you could say.
well, you know what? This is interesting that you say that. I'll tell you why. Because one of the things that I was on the other day, I was looking on Etsy, and I don't know how it came around. They showed a life-size doll of a woman, and it was amazing because it looked like a real human being, and they're selling this, and I'm like, are you kidding me?
Yeah.
And now you see, computer software that can actually mimic a human. Now, in real life, AI is still far off in the future where it could actually do what we think it can. Bill Gates has been a big promoter, I think, of AI, and a lot of people have tried, but I forgot who it was. One of the big scientists, rich guys, actually warned against it. Oh yeah, that's right. The guy that passed away from Apple. What's his name? Steve Jobs.
Steve Jobs. Yeah.
Yeah, he actually warned against it, what artificial intelligence can do. Yeah, the thing is that we're developing it where it's random, and a computer can actually do pretty much. The fear with that, there was also another movie that I don't know if you forgot, that the computer screwed up, and it was supposed to be based on a war between Russia and the United States. and it made it look like the United States was being attacked by Russia.
Oh yeah, that was oh, what was that?
I can't remember the name of the movie.
I thought it was
Countdown.
something
No, it
game.
wasn't. It wasn't the Final Countdown. The Final Countdown is the one where the World War II ship goes back in time. I mean, some modern ship goes back in time, and they're fighting the actual war of World War II. That's it's called the Final Countdown. But this one with the thing, it's called.
So I thought it was something games, war games.
Yeah, it could be War Games. It might
I
be
think it
that.
was war games.
But there is a premises now. The most fearful / sexy film / that I really enjoyed, going back to that one thing called Electra that I recently saw, which it's a very low back. It's like a 2.5 hour film, low back and stuff, and it's about this female robot. She's an android, and the guy is in charge. The programmer is in charge of teaching her, but she starts developing kind of like a relationship where she starts making the guy fall in love with her. And then at the end of the thing, she actually walks away into the real world and locks up the guy behind, which was kind
What was
of
that movie called?
I think it's called Electra. Look it up if you're by a phone, and you can Google it, because the actual name of it, it shows the lady looks a little bit like the robot from iRobot with Isaac Asimov in the cover, where it has that weird shape, but it's a female looking robot, and then it has like it's like a transparent robot. Do you see it?
Oh, that's oh, I just let me see. I'm trying to pull it up here.
I've talked a couple of episodes, and I always forget to look up the actual name of the movie.
I know what you're talking about. It's like, yeah, real twist ending. Oh, I'm trying to look.
The ending was interesting because I thought at the end that the robot's actually going to stay with the guy, and I was kind of bummed out that she went into the world and tricked him. But the idea behind it is to say that she not only developed her own intelligence, but she was able to make a decision on her own and go out there.
Was that Ex Machina?
Yes, Ex Machina. Right.
Yeah, you know, I've never seen that for some reason. I've wanted to, but
you would like that movie. Ex Machina is actually they're using Machina is machine in Spanish. So I'm actually, now that you said Ex Machina, I knew it had a strange name. I thought it was something like Electro, but that movie.
Yeah, I remember the premise where she kind of leaves him at the end and all that. He thinks that they're gonna stay in love or something like that.
Yeah, he actually You know what's so funny about the movie? The movie itself is kind of laid back, but you would say, well, you would say to yourself, man, it's boring. It's got no action. But the thing is that every time you see her luring him in, it's got some sexy vibe to it that kind of makes you stick around. You can't. It's one of those movies that, it's kind of like, there's a book, a children's book. It was called something with unfortunate events. I think it's Mr. Snicket.
Lemony Snicket.
Yeah, Lemony Snicket. A bunch of and here's the funny thing about it. One time when I had my store up in the mall back in 2000, up in Bergen Mall in Paramus, I had set up shop in the lower mall. And sometimes on the weekends, I would hold the table up in the top of the mall, and I would be selling things there. And this was it's a major mall. It's actually the oldest mall in New Jersey. And I was there one time, and somebody, I don't know what it was a bookstore, and they were throwing out a guy, a stand-up, cardboard stand-up of a guy. It was actually, let me see if you remember this story. You remember, not Blockbuster. Oh God, what was the name of that movie store that they sold a lot of videos before? It was before FYI.
Suncoast?
Yeah, Suncoast. Yeah, that's right. Suncoast had a.
Okay. I loved Suncoast, by the way.
I used to go there all the time, and in the Bergen Mall, Suncoast had a statue, not a statue, a stand-up cardboard piece, and the stand-up cardboard was of Lemony Snicket, but it had a guy with his back with a black suit on and a black hat, and he's holding his hands behind his back, and in his hands, that's where they would put the books. It was kind of like a display stand. I thought it was
Oh,
real
okay.
cool because then you couldn't see the guy's face or anything. It was just his back, and it looked like something like spy from a spy movie. So I asked for the stand up and they gave it to me. And then one of the books, Lemony Snicket, whatever it was, I started reading it. And it was kind of funny because here's a children's book. Why am I reading a children's? The funny thing about the darn book is that the book, everything that it has entails sad events of two young children that are orphaned and stuff. But the funny thing is that no matter what it was, it drove me in. It was like what they call a rabbit hole. I kept going in deeper and
Yeah.
deeper. I couldn't put the book down. And I'm like, are you kidding me? I read the whole book in one night. And I found myself till like 2, 3 in the morning reading the damn little book. And I'm like, really? And I said, it's interesting. This writer knows how to write because, he pulled me in really good. And it's kind of the same thing with that movie, Ex Machina. You're watching it, and every time somehow there's some type of love event or, some type of love connection that wants to make you watch the film, and it draws you in the film.
And I think that happens kind of too with these. You see all these like love or sex robots that are out there now, and I think a lot of people, when they're lonely or they're just, doing it as a joke or whatever with these, robots, that they're actually getting drawn into what this robot is saying, and it becomes almost like addicting. Like you said with the movie and the book, you start becoming invested with it. It starts becoming addicting, and you want to keep reading or watching more. And I think these people want to keep interacting more with these robots.
Right.
And
you know what? That's a scary event. It's a scary event where, as time goes by, and the way things have changed and stuff, people are lonely. People are, especially guys, that they're trying to find a mate, and the women or whatever. The problem with stuff like that is where stuff like that could actually start replacing human beings, and that's what's scary.
yeah. Well, you look at a few countries. I know there's one. There was a bodybuilder in Kazakhstan who's real famous for he married a sex doll, and if you read up on him, he's not a bad looking guy. He's he works out. He's buff and all that. Has a lot of friends, but for some reason, he treats this sex doll like it's an actual living person. He travels with her. He talks with her, watches movies with her, everything that you would do with a normal person. So there's kind of like this disconnect from
the real world,
the real world that he's living in. And he has, he has family, he has friends, but for some reason he's drawn in, and it's almost like he's addicted to this doll, because now with the technology is that these robots are starting, and it's still in the initial processes, but they're starting to learn, and they're starting to base their technologies evolving to adapt to what that person wants.
Yeah.
And it's easier for them to stay with these robots because that robot will adapt to what you want. But if that guy goes out and he meets a woman, she might not adapt to everything that he wants. So he's going to push her aside, go back to the robot, because she'll do, whatever he wants, basically. And like, there's that disconnect from humanity with that.
Yeah, and it's kind of crazy though, and that I think.
Yeah, it's crazy, and it's kind of scary too, because how far does it go?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. That a lot of that, actually, there's a good part and a bad part. The good part is that there is technology that can start creating this artificial intelligence to be independent, where you can have and build, say, for example, in the future, possibilities of building robot soldiers and stuff, that you don't have to send real humans to out in the field. Let's say there's a war and stuff.
Right.
But at the same time, there's also that fear of trying to replicate humans, which in a sense, it puts us like acting as God, trying to replicate a robot.
Yeah.
And here's the thing that's crazy about that. it does two things. One, it creates fear, and then real science can go forward because of the fear specter behind the idea of what AI can do.
Yeah. Oh yeah. There's always that potential there too, for just like anything, for people to use it for good, and people, to use it
Evil
for
purpose.
bad.
Yeah.
And like you brought up with the military soldiers, I spent 9 years in the military, so I could see where, these robots would be good on the battlefield. However, because obviously it would cut down on, you know, American soldier casualties or whatnot. But at the same time, you're taking that human element out of it. And, what's to stop them from, mowing down a whole village or a family or an innocent person, because you are still dealing with
You
technology
know,
that's, will never be perfect. I mean, not saying, humans aren't perfect, but you don't have the empathy that you have in a human being. So there's kind of like some pros and cons with it. And
well, yeah, and that's where a lot of these writers, movie writers and stuff, go off and create all these storylines. Because look, you already mentioned one, the movie back in Electric Dreams. Then you had another movie like that, which is kind of like iRobot with Isaac Asimov. I think it was the first one that created this robot, whatever. And then you had like Will when he did The Last Man on Earth, which originally was done by the guy who played the Joker. What's his name? Benedict, down in the Twilight Zone, when the whole explosion and he's the last one reading books.
Burgess Meredith.
Yes, murdered. And it kind of, if you look behind the idea behind all those films are kind of like around the same thing, even though that was different. That was just a total holocaust where everything's destroyed, but it still has the same idea, like with robots, where a robot will take over the world and destroy all humans. And you know how many different films have come out that I can remember from the 1980s, 70s to the present, where there's always like this robots taking over the world. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that has always created fear. And that fear has made the United States lag behind Japan in robotics and stuff. Because, okay, let's say right now you build a perfect AI machine, a machine that can make its own choice, make its own thing. Let's say, so you build the brain. But to build the actual figure for the machine, the skeletal part, the robotic part, so that it has hands, arms, legs, the closest technology for that is the Japanese robot. I can't pronounce his name. Osimo. I think it's Osimo. The little guy is
Yeah.
about 5'2" and he jogs and runs. I don't know if you've seen him.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That little guy cost over $7 million, I think, to build, and it's still in its original stages. And he walks around, he runs around. I actually tried to buy on eBay a little model of him, about 12 inches tall, and they surpass $200-300 every time they come up. So I kind of been hesitant to pay for it that much, but it brings to the attention of how much we've gone in, because before the problem was, and the fact that I love robots and I've tried to build several, and here's a good example. When I was building my 8-foot model, I had thought that, like when you see those little robots, the ones that you wind up, if you look at it, the way they work, they have like a can. Think of a bicycle set of bicycle pedals. One goes up, one goes down. So you figure if you put a set of bicycle pedals in the center of the robot where the waist is, and you put a bar into each, like instead of the pedal, you will put a bar into the bottom of it, and you had a motor in the center turning it, it will make the robot wobble back and forth, back and forth. But in order to make it walk, what you would do is you have to put like a bar in between the legs, so that each time the pedal would move, the thing would kind of go forward one and one backward like that. And my idea was I can build a huge robot and make it walk that way, just like the 1950s, battery operated ones. And I started doing some research and I experimented with it. And here's what I encountered. One, unless the feet weigh a lot, it's going to tip over. Two, when you do that, and it starts walking and it starts wobbling as it does too. By the time it gets to the third step, the wobble gets bigger until it falls to the side. Okay? So, yeah, trust me, I try to make one walk. And it works great in a little 10, 12-inch figure because the center, it's a small figure. But when you try to build it in a frame of 8 foot, that doesn't work that well. And that's what I was trying to do. And then I settled for the fact that, you know what, I'm going to put, and this came from that magazine that I told you about in 1924, Science and Invention, that had the robot with the caterpillar legs that was supposed to be used, that I showed in one of our episodes on YouTube when we were actually doing the live podcast. And I said, you know what, it would look really cool if I can put one of those thread things in each side. Now, 20 years ago when I started building the robot, it was very hard to do that unless you had a machine shop. Right now, you can actually go on eBay and they'll sell you kits that would fit the foot of each of the robot, I'm not sure how much weight you can put on it, but it comes with the threads and everything, the tank threads. And come on, man, there's nothing cooler than a robot that will have tank threads in its legs. I mean, that I thought was super cool. And then I got back to the fact, well, I can make the robot walk, like the one in Bugs Bunny, for example, which was what I was trying. I can make it where I'll make the legs solid and put a base with wheels. Let me tell you, I bought 2 wheelchair motors. I bought 2 hospital bed electric motors, DC motors. I started going into electronics, building this stuff. Now, I had to stop because I didn't have the room where to do it. And then I procrastinated, got lazy, and it's been there for the last 10, 11 years already, where I haven't worked on it. It's almost completed, though. I was saying to myself, I'm going to probably, in the next couple of weeks or months, I'm going to bring it out and start working on it again because I love this stuff. And now that Dr. Saab started going on the website trying to make me the 7-foot monster robot plan that he's trying to make through his computer, a 3D model, and actually print it out with a 3D printer of the actual robot from the ad in a small size, it got me burning with desire again over the robot stuff. And I've always loved robots, but I like the robots that reminded me of the 1950s films, the ones that look like that. I'm not into the modern day robot that, even though I got to be honest with you, I probably have over 150 robots in my collection. I bought modern day robots. I bought everything from the Japanese versions. I have 31 original Japanese robots. My favorite one and one of my prized possessions is the Smoking Spaceman, which I believe I sent you some photos a while back, where I have 4 remakes of it and 1 original. Then I also have one that I think it was called the Spaceman or something like that, which is a black robot. And then when you look inside the thing, it has a human face inside the helmet thing. But it's a robot. And you know what? I love robots in general. So for when you say AI and stuff like that, which is more of an android, and an android is a robot that looks more human-like. It has more human features. Instead, growing up, and anytime I wanted to build a robot that I'm looking for a life-size robot, I kept seeing, even in this show that became very popular called Robot Wars, where they compete with robots, they all have wheels and they look like little cars and stuff. And I'm like, that's not a robot, I want a robot that walks. I want a robot like the ones I grew up watching, Lost in Space or Robbie. And that was funny, though, because the real robotics in college are those miniature little robots, which I think they look stupid. I mean, I'm not into those robots. I'm into the life size, and I've always loved to collect, and I've tried to build, oh my gosh. In fact, one of my last thing when I started putting this robot together was not just the idea of building it. I did all the step-by-step procedures, and I took photographs as I went along the way, because I wanted to create a book on how to build a 7-foot monster robot, but something that was going to be a real robot, not somebody getting inside it, And I have, I think, over 240 photographs of all the steps I took. And I'm still thinking, and now, actually, Joe, now that you're a writer, that will be after we finish the one book we're working on. that will probably be something we can do. The manual on how to, because I have the photographs and I can actually complete it, and I'm sure a lot of people out there will love that.
You know what I was just thinking. What would be good for our buddy Todd and his sea monkeys is if he had robot sea monkeys that could swim around with the regular sea monkeys.
I'm
So Todd, if you're listening, there you go, brother. There's a new idea: robot sea monkeys.
He's probably already putting one together as we speak. You mentioned it, because the thing is that's so funny because I believe there was a spoof. I don't know if it was Family Guy or The Simpsons where they had sea monkeys, So you kind of just made me laugh when you said that because I wonder if they had something like that already.
Yeah, he could start making some artificial intelligence ones to, interact with the regular sea monkeys, and he could base them off himself. So
Now,
Todd, if you're listening, there's your idea. When you produce it, make sure you cut me and Eddie in for a certain percentage.
yeah, it's kind of funny that you said that. I was also looking today as I was looking over my place. I'm looking through a few things, a few of the books and stuff to see, because every day I've decided to look at a couple of different things and find out what exactly I have in my collection. And one of the things that was really shocking, you remember that book I showed one time called Fast Times at Richmond Hyde?
Yeah.
That book actually sold on eBay for $240. Yeah.
Did it really?
And I was like, okay, whatever, something tells me inside I feel like reneging on it because it does go for like $1,000. But what the hell? It's $240 I don't have, Why not use it?
That ain't bad. I can't believe that book actually went that high.
If you look at it, it actually sold it, and then two people were bidding on it. I was hoping it would have gone for more. I started at 225, so it went up to 239. So,
speaking of eBay, what's new on House of the Unusual eBay store?
Well, you know what? I decided that, and I was thinking about this, that what I'm going to do is for the website, what I think, and I wanted to get your input on this too, is I wanted to start growing the eBay store with a couple of products we're going to be creating additional, not just the products that are there, because I've been running on 28 products for almost 2 years now. And they keep selling over and over, so it's not like I have to keep adding. But, it'd be nice to build a product line of at least 50 items. And I have quite a couple in mind that we can be using. And we'll use those proceeds for the podcast and our growth because we need to continue to grow. Our YouTube channel just went up by about, I think, a couple of subscribers, over 15 subscribers in the last 2 weeks for some interesting reason. And that's another thing. I mean, we have been broadcasting live, and apparently we're going to do that only coming forward for special guests, because what happens is when you have a visual of something, and then of course, Joe, when we talk about it on the radio, and we're using that same podcast over in the radio, the visual part of it, people are hearing it being described. But, they're shown and they're actually there's some missing there. They're missing the visual part of it. And it's easier for people to listen to podcasts because podcasts you can listen on any particular station, anywhere you want to go on your headphones, you can be working, whatever. While actual YouTube videos, you have to wait until you get home to watch it, or, it's not going to be watched as much. Now, we're still going to be putting this on YouTube, but it's going to have like a background, visual background. It's not going to be us there on it. I'm going to continue because obviously people are expecting us to be there. But I was going to tell you, other than that, overall, the podcast and the items that we have will continue to grow. And as soon as we hit our 1,000 subscribers, we'll be selling T-shirts and quite a few things right out of the channel and help us to continue to grow the channel, which is the idea. And what we're doing with this is we keep joining up with people that love what we do. They love the magic aspect of it. They love the novelty aspect. And they love, most of all, the collector's aspect of it. And now we had a couple of people join us. We've had Chuck, a professional magician for life. He does this as for full time. We've had Dave, who's an actual sea diver. And we'll bring on, and hopefully I asked already, and he wants to come on. I got to email him and see the best time but we're going to do that one live. We're going to have the NBA player Mason Plumlee. He's going to be a guest on our show. He wants to talk about novelties and stuff because he loves that. On the side, he buys a lot of collectibles and stuff. And I think one of his favorite things, he likes collecting those pop heads, they call them. What's the name of those things?
Oh, those pop vinyl
Those little
figures.
pops. I personally, this is funny. I don't collect them. I've only bought one or two of them. Yet my brother has inundated me with them. He sends them to me. Okay. and then he sends me ones like, for example, the only one I think bought was the Elvira one. And I bought Raymond Reddington from the Blacklist. My brother has sent me the Monsters, like two sets of them. He sent me the Addams Family. I think he also sent me recently the Haunted Mansion ones. I have about 40 or 50 of them already. And just about 2 or 3 months ago, he sent me a 12-inch one of Count Chocolate. From
nice.
So he's kind of forcing me to go into it, but I don't know. I don't have a love for them. I don't get rid of the ones I have. They're going for a lot of money right now. In fact, I think Lily Monster from the Monsters, I have 2 of them. Actually 3 of them. She's going for like $150. So they do go up in value a little bit. I don't think it's going to go up in value. Like, for example, there was a variant poster that somebody did. Now this guy was smart. This guy went on a poster site called Society 6. Okay, and here's where independent artists set up shop and sell their stuff, And what this guy did is he made an appearance as a guest in one of the Science Channel or the Sci-Fi Channel used to have. I don't know if you remember, they have those games in where you would have 3 people in each team, and then they were supposed to, let's say, do the best mask or the best Halloween thing or whatever. And he came out, and believe it or not, he was tossed out in the very first episode. In the first round, he lost, right? But he used that for his website where he said, as shown on television or as appeared on television. And he did a painting where he took Vincent Price in the house on Haunted Hill, and he did a variant for it where Vincent Price is sitting on a rocking chair. He's got a skeleton from behind him, like holding up a hangman's noose. But, the noose is up in the air. It's got nobody on it. And there's like a car parked outside the window where, Vincent Price is sitting by the chair. Well, anyway, when I saw it, there was 2 types. There was a black and white with a green, and they called it something variant. And they did one in color. And the one with the blue or greenish letters where it said the House of Haunted Hill was all black and white. But the poster was really attractive. And I came across it. I forgot. I was going on looking over eBay and stuff. And I came across this poster that was 22 by I think 22 by 27 inches or 22 by 24. And I wanted to buy it. So they tweeted me and they say it's going to go on sale Wednesday at such a time. When I'm waiting there, I'm like trying to buy it and it's not going through. And I'm like, what the hell? He was going to sell only 400 copies, right? At $75 the color and $125 the black and white with the green lettering. He sold out in 5 minutes. I couldn't get it. I was so pissed. And I'm like, how in the world did this guy just totally sell out of this poster? And it did. And he took the House on Haunted Hill and he made it into like a variant. And it was a super duper phenomenal piece. Today, that piece is selling for $500 on eBay. So
wow.
Things like that can be really awesome. So in our website, like right now, I'm going to tell you something. That 7 foot monster ghost that I did, the special edition, I only did 100. That's it. Once sold out, I'm not reproducing them again. Once I ran out, that's it. I guarantee you,
So people need to get on there and get their 7 foot
especially
ghost monster.
because I guarantee you in a year from now, watch, somebody's going to be selling them on eBay for $100 a piece. Or
Now, do you have any of the signed and numbered ones left?
the signed ones, I think I have 4 left, and I have, if I'm correct, about 15 or between 15 and 22 left of the regular ones. I actually just packed the box that I had in the house with about 12 of them because I've been saying some guy bought.
So if people are listening, head over to the eBay store and grab one of those signed ones. It's signed by Craig Tarbeck and it's numbered. So they're going quick, and that the box art for those and just everything is just absolutely beautiful with those. And I do have your one that's in the envelope from a couple years ago, but the box one, especially with I have the box one displayed on my desk with Craig's autograph on the front, and I mean it's just an awesome piece. So if anybody's out there, even if you don't want the autograph one, grab just one of the regular edition ones, and I'm telling you, you won't be disappointed. It's a great piece.
Well, one of the things I was going to say with the envelope version, I I actually sold this month 78 of them. Yeah, I was like,
oh wow,
man. It's funny though because it is a nice item, and it is always an item that I've loved. It's been my favorite since I was a kid growing up. I think it's the ultimate mail order item because it offers so much hype for what the garbage that it was, Uh, but it was perfect for writing great sales copy, especially for the kids of our generation. And here's another thing I'm going to tell you. I have a couple of little items, Joe, that I'm going to introduce to you because we're going to launch me and you, and they're going to be phenomenal. These are going to be nice items that are, one of them again is as we were getting ready for the Ghost Ship Times newsletter that we're going to be launching pretty soon as we premiere where the shows we're working on, and one of them is going to be for that Unboxing Mysteries channel that we mentioned. And as you know, as coming forward, we're working on all this projects, but it takes time because we're actually putting it together. And anything you do in editing, anything you do in filming takes time. We can bring it up to the opening, but we'll let people know it's coming. But it's a matter of just a couple of weeks away, and then you'll start seeing the products coming in. Now, I've always wanted to create and reproduce the stuff growing up with, stuff that people saw in comic books, the original stuff that I own. But at the same time, there's also nice items that can be made in the same line of those original items, repackaged, remarket, and they will be really nice items that you want to keep and have today. We're developing a couple of magic sets. That's stuff that me and Dave are doing, bringing up, a couple of magic things. And I'm working with Mason Plumley in one of those, where we're going to bring up some interesting magic apparatus and stuff that people are going to love the tricks, whole new things never done before, and they're going to be introduced. Those are also going to be brought to our store. And Joe, as people know, I don't want to give away the title, but you've been working on a book now for about 10 years, you mentioned. That's going to be it's going to be a heck of a bestseller, and it's going to be coming out soon, hopefully middle of this coming year now, or this year we're in now. But people don't realize that when you take a book and you come with the idea of the book from its initial writing stage to its completion, can take over a year. And I know I said, that's impossible. I can do it in a month or two. And it really hit me in the face of how long it actually takes and how much progress is it, because we're working on one that's going to rival mail order mysteries. It's going to be the history completely of mail order, and it's going to be it probably sell out the same day it comes out. It's going to be a phenomenal book, Joe, and you know you're part of it. You're the one that's doing the majority of the writing on it, so or 90% of the writing on it, and it's a lot of people that are putting together this book. It's not just me and you, Joe. It's going to be phenomenal, and it's going to probably, once it's finished, it's going to air on television as well. And that's something I'm not going to say what channel or what, because right now it's on, but it is going to happen. It's just when it's finished and when it happens, and it will grow. And the idea for us is we need to continue to build our audience, and where we're building our audiences of like-minded folks, people that love to collect, people that love what we do, and they just want to hang around and talk about different things. And Dr. Saab, not Fob, Dr. Saab, he's been there. We've asked him a couple of times to come on board, and he's been very quiet about it. But there's something interesting. He wrote in in the forum, and he was saying that he heard me in one of our podcasts where I told the story when we were with Dr. Boyajin of how I was going around for the robot. And he goes, now I understand how long it is, why it would take so long for me to write it down, because him and Todd have been challenging me to write it down. But it was interesting, though, because he wrote a part there. And let me see if I can find. Can you look up in your thing, because I don't have anything on here that can you look up at the forum under the monster robot plans or the house in the usual and the monster robot, Joe, and see if you see what he wrote there?
Yeah, I'll try to get on. It'll take me a little while.
If you can do it before the thing is over. He wrote a segment there. It was very interesting. It made me laugh, of where he said he contacted me several years ago. And he saw the House of the Unusual, and he was trying to contact me on the site, and to no avail. I never responded, because and then he goes on to say that he kind of did it like if he was the guy searching for the robot plans, and he contacts me on SS Adams original novelties. It was kind of funny, though, because I'm like, okay. And I guess he was kind of saying that I never responded to him, And I kind of wrote him down, and I said, listen, if you tell me what kind of items you want, I might have a surprise for you, Because I did tell him, I think he mentioned on the thing that at the time I told him that the items he was looking for were not for sale because they were vintage or whatever. But it was interesting. I'm trying to look it up in my site here.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now about where he said
that out. Read that out to the people so you see what he said. It was kind of funny.
Well, he said he was trying to get a hold of you about 3 or 4 years ago, because he was looking for some old 1980s SS Adams stretch pack gags. So the conversation, something he wrote me, hi, are you the same Eddie from House of the Unusual? Eddie, yes, who are you? I'm me, like you, I collect mail order comic book stuff. Are you selling 1980s SS Adam item on your House of the Unusual website? No, not that year. Those are collectible. Do you have plans for the monster robot plans that were advertised in the comics 1970s from Melton Company? Me, I did have robot plans as a kid from the Abracadabra Magic Shop. I have those plans. Thank you.
So apparently he's playing it off like I answered him, but the thing is, I'm trying to remember that, and that must have been, like you said, 3 or 4 years or maybe more. But the funny thing is, he goes, so I wrote him underneath. I said, well, what exactly are you looking for? Because, with the trouble he's going through, he's going to get a surprise. If he wants SS Adams stretch packs, I got hundreds. I'd be more than happy to give him a few. But I want to give him what he wants, not just me randomly pick a product I think would be cool. I want to see which ones he actually wanted. So if you're listening to Dr. Saab, I hear your pain, bro, and I understand what you try to tell me. That I don't know if I brushed you off or what the story was. But the problem is a lot of people don't understand that when I had House of the Unusual prior to this one that we have right now built, Joe, the House of the Unusual was run by a company called Choice Host, and the email address that I had on House of the Unusual, I have no idea where the emails were going to because I lost the email that I had. I think it was one called Magic Blue House at AOL.com. I don't remember which one it was, but I haven't been on that email address for years. And the problem was I couldn't make any updates on the website because I had lost the original program for that website, which was built in 1998. And I used at the time Adobe Dreamweaver, which was, a 1998 version of it. I hadn't made no changes on the website for over 15 years. And the only reason I kept it active, even though all the items on there were SS Adams items, because at the time, what I would do is when I would get an order for a particular product, I would ask Dave Harversat, who was up in Connecticut, and he would drive down to South Jersey to the Neptune store, to SS Adams. I would say, hey, Dave, meet me up in Paramus. I need a dozen snake cans. I need whatever it was. And he would bring it up himself, and I would send it to my customers. Therefore, I didn't have to really buy large quantities of any particular product. So what I did is that's why I kept the site the way it was. But the site was running on prices basically that were years ago. I mean, prices that have not been, very old prices. So the thing basically I was trying to say is that it worked for me and it stayed grandfathered, because the problem is when you have a name on the web, the longer it lasts there, it grandfathers you. And it proved that I owned and sold a lot of the novelties I'm selling before anybody else, before 1998 would even sell or have. So when anybody would come out there, it grandfathered me in the internet. So I kept the site alive that long. I finally made a change to the site when I needed, because, now I was going to eventually, I'm hoping me and you, Joe, can retire in the next 3 to 4 years on what we're doing. So in order to do this, we needed to make a change. I couldn't just do it as a hobby any longer. And basically that's what happened. And, that's why a lot of times people would write like Dr. Saab and write, and it would be like the Twilight Zone. They were writing into time and space. and talking about movies and stuff, what really shocks me? Talking about the Twilight Zone and stuff. I saw William Shatner. Now, William Shatner is trying to come on this show now. This guy with this, what's this guy? This guy with the hair standing up, this crazy guy on TV, Ancient Aliens. That's
Ancient Aliens, show. Yeah.
Now, this guy, William Shatner, is coming on that show. He's got another show called The Unknown, which is a pretty good show, by the way. And he also makes appearances on The Oak Island Treasure. What I find phenomenal is how old this guy is. This guy is 90 years old, dude. He's 90. Yeah, he's
William
90
Shatner?
years old, and he's still acting on TV. That's insane.
Wow, yes. I didn't think he was that old.
I was shocked. Crap. Somebody told me the other day, I think it was David Harversat. He goes, Eddie, he's super old.
Yeah, 89 years old. I'm just looking up now. March 22nd is his birthday. So he
turns 89 or he turns 90?
He'll turn 90 this year.
And here he is on television. He's got a wonderful voice. In fact, his voice rivals that of Leonard Nimoy from In Search Of.
Yeah, that's crazy how old he is. I mean, good for him that he's still going. Him and my girl Betty White are still kicking and still on the scene, man.
Funny when you say Betty White, I don't know why, I never really liked Betty White as an actress. She's been around forever, but the Golden Girls were not like really my favorite show. My wife always used to watch it, but it was all right. She was The old lady that passed away, the one that played the old lady, was the one that was funny on the show. But I'll tell you one thing: the William Shatner, if he were honestly to lose a couple of pounds, I wouldn't be surprised if he looks just like he did in Star Trek. He looks
Yeah,
phenomenal, man.
really.
And it's. I mean, I got to give the man credit. You're 90 years old and you're acting. You still have all your marbles up there. Your health is that good that you can make
Well,
appearances on so many shows.
yeah, good health, and he still loves what he does. So, good for him on that. There's a lot of people out there who are young and don't like what they're doing, and they're ready for the heat, but he's
Definitely
still
right.
going. But hey, we got about 4 minutes left here, so we're gonna wrap it up here a little bit. And before we do, I just want to let everyone know, head over to houseoftheunusual.com. We have a great website there. It's free to join. We have a mailing list and a forum, all free to join. There's some good conversations going on in the forum, so meet some like-minded people. Talk about, whatever you want, from collectibles, novelties, movies, whatever. We have a blog post. There's the links to the podcast and link to the eBay store, all that stuff there. You could also find us on Facebook and Instagram, and especially go over to YouTube. There's some great videos there of our past video podcasts and some unboxing videos and some older videos that Eddie's done with some unboxings. Hit that subscribe button, like our videos, and interact over there, because the more you guys interact with us, the more that we're able to put out to you guys. And this is stuff that we enjoy doing, so we hope that you guys are enjoying it as well. And check us out every Wednesday. We have a new podcast that's coming out. As Eddie alluded to earlier, we're going to go just strictly with the podcast, and when we have something that's like a special guest where we have a lot of visuals or something, we're going to go ahead and add that video part to the podcast. So if you want to check out both, you could also see, some of the collectibles or whatnot that we'll have. So, but yeah, we're going to be just strictly podcast, and we'll let you guys know when, we have a video cast up and what that will be all about. So that's all I have on my end. Eddie, what do you got to wrap it up?
Basically the same thing you were saying. I also want to bring up the fact that this, for today, we actually have one thing that's really interesting. We have I uploaded Chuck Caputo as he actually demonstrates the Great Leon miniature haunted house. On that video, I have a link, and the link on the video basically is for people that want to buy the booklet, which is great. It's only $24, and it shows the Great Leon performing the trick. And the book is not just the plans, it's a well-made book. And what it does, it also has a pattern. Now, a pattern is the way you perform it. A pattern is what magicians call the performance, the whole trick and the whole scenario you put together to perform the trick. They call it the pattern. So it's a book and pattern. It has all the stuff ready to go. And I don't have that many copies left of it. There are copies. I bought several hundred copies way back in the day, and I still have about maybe 20 copies left. I think that's going to be the end of it once I sell out. But the whole thing is, with the book, though, it's a great thing, and you can see what it's like when Chuck performs it. And also, the one that Chuck has there, he was nice enough to actually sell me his haunted house that he's had in his possession, and he used to use way back to perform in front of kids and audiences for over 25 years.
Yeah, he definitely has some great videos on YouTube. So go ahead and check him out on there, and like and subscribe to his channel. He's definitely a friend of House of the Unusual. Also, head over to c-monkeys.com. They're also a friend of the podcast. Todd Machen and company over there. Go and support them, and everything helps us out.
One thing I'm going to say, though, Chuck might be coming on board to our channel, I guess full time. So it's going to be, whoever likes Chuck, we're going to have him do a lot of the magic, and he's going to have a whole magic show in our channel. So our channel will continue to grow, and just keep following us each week. New things. Well, having
Sounds
said
good.
that, Joe, I guess I'm going to say have a great day. Oh, one final thing. Unlike before, where we would record a week in advance and then the show would show the next week after, we're actually recording live at 11 o'clock each night, and the show airs at 3 a.m. on the following night, which is Thursday morning. So it's now 11 o'clock Wednesday night going into Thursday morning. So 3 a.m. Thursdays mornings, the new show comes out that's recorded 3 hours earlier. So we're not.
All right. Sounds good. So thank you everyone for joining us. And Eddie, I'll talk to you
Later.
next time.
Bye.